Welcome to Football Today, presented by Captain Morgan. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penik, and we're doing all pro teams today. Only offense. We did defense last week. I feel like we got a pretty good grasp on where this is going to end. All pro voting happens, sooner. It's coming up on it with the season. 6 weeks away from being ended. Justin Penik, how you doing? How you feeling? Has anything changed since we originally were going to do this 2 weeks ago?
I think I changed the order of some guys. Like I maybe had some guys first and then I put them second. Yes, some things did change for me. Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to do first team and second team. I think wide receiver is what changed the most for me. Running back flip-flop for me. But quarterback stayed the same, and we're gonna start with quarterback. Who is your first team All-Pro quarterback, Justin?
My first team All-Pro quarterback. I want to say first, happy Thanksgiving for everybody who's listening. Thanks for supporting us through football today.
Happy friggin' Thanksgiving.
Tell us comment what you're friggin' thankful for, in the words of Bobby Skinner. And hello to Dan Patrick. If this makes it on the Dan Patrick feed, happy to have you on John Boy Media Football Today. We're doing some good stuff. My first quarterback, this is something that I did flip from 2 weeks ago. I now first have Lamar Jackson, and I have Josh Allen second. And then third, for honorable mention, I have Jared Goff.
I'm surprised that you left a name off of this.
Yeah.
Because I only did first team and second team. So first team's Lamar. I feel like this is super. Like you can make an argument for a couple other guys maybe if you wanted to, but I feel like this one's easy. He's the reigning MVP and he's having a better season than he was, than last year. He's number one in EPA per play, he's fifth in passing yards per game, first in total, but he has that extra game, first in passing touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. The only starter with less is Justin Herbert. Then you get to the rushing stats where he has 600 yards, which is most for quarterbacks, and then 3 rushing touchdowns.
It's insane.
Last year, he won the MVP, and I thought there was arguments for the position players and stuff. And I think, Saquon might be making an argument to get it this year if he breaks the rushing record. But I feel like the difference is Lamar's having a typical MVP year, where last year I thought it was like a down year for the quarterbacks.
Right. If Lamar statistically was having the season that he was having last year, then it's like, oh, come on, man. Like there already was a pretty decent argument through this time last year that maybe Tyreek Hill should get it. But it would be, all right, come on, you gotta give this to Saquon. We're gonna talk about Saquon, his ability to finish games and helping the Eagles actually finish football games too. But even yards per attempt, where Jared Goff is number one at 9, Lamar Jackson is second at 8.9. The rushing added on top of the season that he's having is just, I don't know if this is, we all try and say this when we talk about greatness, but Bobby, I don't know if we've ever seen a QB season like this, where you have a weapon like Lamar Jackson, who is leading in yards, is leading in touchdown, almost an 8% touchdown rate, not turning over the ball, less than a 1% interception rate, and on top of that, he has, maybe some good RB2s or getting 600 yards in a year, and he has that himself on top of the scoring that he could do with his legs himself. I don't know if we've ever seen a QB season like this where a quarterback is so dominant throwing the ball and then also a QB so dominant running the ball.
Well, the only other one I could think of is 2019 Lamar.
Right, but the yards weren't really there, I don't think, for Lamar.
But he had 30-plus passing touchdowns. I think he had like 2-3 interceptions that year. And that was, I think he ended up getting 1,000 rushing yards that year, too. So, like, the only person that you can really compare to is Lamar. Yeah. Like Allen's had some like nice dual threat years, but like last year he led the league in interceptions despite being like having a ton of rushing yards to go with it. So yeah, like again, he's clearly having a better season than last year. I feel like this is easy. So your second team was who?
It's Josh Allen.
So mine is Joe Burrow.
Okay. The only argument I would say against that. Now,
this is a positional award. This is has nothing to do. All pro to me has nothing to do with team success.
Yeah. Yeah, you
bring up a great point. Are we gonna if let's say let me find an example.
You bring up a great point.
Okay, my second team left guard, Justin. He's on a bad team. Should I hold that against him?
No.
So I mean, he's second in the NFL in passing yards per game by a half yard to Geno Smith. He's passing touchdowns. He's tied with Lamar with one less game, only 4 interceptions, and he has the number 6 scoring offense with the 29th best rushing team. It's not his fault that his defense sucks. So if you want to get into like MVP, like you have to be on a winning team for MVP type debate, I'm fine with that. But just all pro, just best at their position, Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow had this type of season last year, like he would have been the MVP over Lamar to me. And
you would put Burrow hey, if you want to, I don't have like a big ringing endorsement for Jared Goff, to be honest. But I will even fight a little bit. You're willing to put Joe Burrow ahead of Josh Allen and what he's done this year?
I mean, he has 10 more passing touchdowns, 500 more passing yards. I know Josh Allen adds that rushing yards, but you can't. I think Burrow's been just much better as a passer. I think Josh Allen, but even though Josh Allen has slowed down the turnovers, which it was like 0 through like 7 games, and now he's got 5 in the last 4. He's not putting up the same passing yards that he did. Like, they ran the ball a lot earlier in the year. Now you're starting to see those numbers creep back up for him. But Joe Burrow's doing a ton.
He is, and I think you're talking about two teams that are super dependent on their quarterbacks, right? And I think maybe Lamar is in that conversation. I think Cincy and Buffalo. I mean, name me another team that is like so QB dependent on their success. I think those are the top 3 teams.
Buffalo has a halfway decent defense.
Right. But my
and
even
James
argument,
Cook in a run game.
My even argument is that Cincy's infrastructure on offense, not defense, Cincy's infrastructure on offense is better than what Josh Allen and the Bills have. Now you can say the running game is better, but I'm going receivers wise. I would take Chase,
absolutely.
T. Higgins than what they have in Buffalo right now. At least until Amari Cooper is more consistent for you.
Well, even when Amari Cooper comes back, you're taking that Bengals passing offense, system better. But again, he has no rushing attack, and he's got the nice Chase and Higgins on the outside, no doubt. But like, he's still doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame that like this type of performance won't even get a shot in the playoffs.
No. So that's why I'm not saying I'm wrong. I picked my Bengals to win the Super Bowl this year. I knew Joe Burrow was going to have an MVP-like year. I'm not wrong because it's happening.
Hey,
just
maybe
the
let's the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs. The Broncos,
I know they're not. I've been
the
they're not making the playoffs guy, Justin, because the division they're in and their defense.
The dream
is
is dead. The dream is dead.
But with the new 7-team thing and 17 games, it's just like the in the hunt graphic is always epic towards the end of the year.
Nah, I think they're down. Their chances are down in the 20s and the teens now, and even if they start winning a little bit, so they would need the Broncos to just crash and fail. I mean, they need a lot of things to happen, but they would need the Broncos to really crash and fail, and I just don't know if that's going to happen at this point. But yeah, Burrow's been phenomenal, and it is going to be kind of like a wasted effort, and you don't know what's going to happen with the future of T. Higgins and the future of some of these guys. So it's a shame that it's coming down.
Yeah, right now they're not making it. They're 2.5 games back
done.
at the 7th seed, and they're just not a good team.
Yeah,
right?
You don't even know if they could string together wins at this point.
We're not like they aren't a good team. All right, so first team I had Lamar, second team Joe Burrow. Yours was first team Lamar, second team Josh Allen.
Yes.
All right, you want to hit the running backs?
Let's hit the running backs.
So this is where it flip-flopped for me when I put together my original notes a couple weeks ago, and then we pushed this back because we wanted to debut it for the Patrick Dan show. First team Saquon Barkley, second team Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a top 2 rushers in the league like having a season like this. Maybe I should have thought about this before the show, but I can't remember the last time. Maybe it's CJ, Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, and that
in 09.
And that when Chris Johnson broke the scrimmage yard.
Yeah, it was 09.
Let me look at 2009 rushing leaders. But Eventually, someone's going to have to break. Nah, Adrian Peterson had not a down year. He had 18 rushing touchdowns and 1,300 yards, but he was fourth in rushing after Thomas Jones and Steven Jackson. Down year. Adrian Peterson, definitely a Hall of Famer. Here's a quick. Name the running backs who are not in the Hall of Fame that are going to get in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not going back from the last 5-6 years.
The last 5? You're saying the last 5-6 years?
I think Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry are the only running backs who haven't been eligible yet that are going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Is there anybody else like Chris
McCaffrey?
Johnson,
McCaffrey maybe, but you forget McCaffrey had some. I mean, this is the third time where he's just missed significant time. The third year where he's missed significant time.
I feel like that's a fun off-season episode. Let's put a pin on that.
Yeah,
we can talk about the future of the running back position.
But Saquon, I mean, first in the NFL in rushing yards per game with 125, 10 rushing touchdowns, which is a lot. But like you think about, Jalen Hurts has 11 rushing touchdowns.
All of them come from like 10 and 20 plus yards, away from the end zone. It's crazy.
Yeah, like he's getting these explosive plays. Like he is him behind that Eagles offensive line, which was like. Saquon's always been a good running back, played behind some bad offensive lines with the Giants. The Eagles' offensive line was like, it makes DeAndre Swift look really good and Miles Sanders look really good. Well, now you put a running back like Saquon behind it, and now it's just they can just flat out lean on their rushing attack, and it's impossible to stop.
I just had a scary thought. Imagine if Saquon was on the 2022 Eagles, where you had Kelsey. And you didn't have Mekhi Becton looked pretty good at guard, but you didn't have Mekhi Becton playing at guard. That would have been a very scary sight. But no, I mean, Saquon Barkley, I think, has been the best finisher in the NFL. His first half and second half splits, I know some national broadcasts have done a really good job of pointing this out, but go on Pro Football Reference and look for yourself and go under splits and click 2024, where he's almost doubling his yards per attempt in the second half. He's almost doubling his yards from what he has in the first half and the second half. And I think particularly for this Eagles team, which they're kicking ass right now, but you can, maybe there's still some issues there, but they are totally being, I don't even want to say covered up, but Saquon Barkley has just, in the second half and their ability to close out these games, it's just made the Eagles that much better, and it's made them a good team, maybe with some problems, to a team that is currently kicking ass right now. And Bobby, let me even ask you this, because I tried kind of directing Rose in this direction on Monday's show, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts. I feel like the kind of the older heads and maybe the talking heads of NFL football that really like to talk about, in the second half, that's when you really start to lean on guys, and even if the run isn't really working in the first half, Saquon Barkley and the Eagles is a clear example as to tiring a defense down, wearing a defense down, and then boom, you get to hit him for big plays in the second half. Do you think it's kind of that simple, and maybe that's why he's hitting those big gains, or is it just Saquon Barkley and the Eagles' offensive line is really freaking good?
Well, the being really freaking good part of it is obviously part, but run defense is so much about focus and effort, right? Like you have to be focused. You have to make sure you play your gap. When they pull somebody, we got to move down a gap. You got to have it takes all 11. You really got to be totally focused, and it's just as the game gets going and it's tired, it's hard to be the focus, right? You see it like a corner will jump inside, and then you're able to bounce the play, so stuff like that. So yeah, I do think it's a part of what they're doing. I didn't get to check Monday's show, but I saw you guys did Saquon MVP talk. Where are you on that?
Is this a quarterback award or not? I don't think he deserves it over Josh Allen or Lamar, but if I had to make a list of, your top 5, I think I'm putting Saquon Barkley right now as number 3.
I'd probably put him at number 2. I don't say it completely, but I try to lean a little more into most outstanding instead of most valuable, because then it's just a never-ending argument of like, well, quarterback's most valuable, and it's just quarterback of the year.
Because basically,
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, you can't not give that guy the MVP. Like, I'm sorry, Lamar. If someone breaks Eric Dickerson's record, you give them the MVP that year. The last time that a running back got MVP or non-quarterback got MVP was Adrian Peterson. That's when he came like 7 yards short of Dickerson's record. If you break that record, I'm sorry. Like, running back gets the MVP. Don't talk to me about vet. I understand it. I understand your arguments. I'm sorry. I'm giving him the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, MVP, I feel like it's turned into an EPA per play award. Even when I don't know if voters are intentionally looking at EPA per play, but it's very much turned into an EPA per play award. And you have Lamar Jackson as 1 and Josh Allen as 2 in the NFL right now. Among quarterbacks.
Right.
So,
second team running back all pro, Justin. I feel like it's a shame that this guy's not going to be first team with Derrick Henry. I mean, his 110 rushing yards per game is second in the NFL. It's the best rushing yards per game season by like a wide margin since 2020, when guess who? Derrick Henry had 126 yards per game that year. So he has 110 rushing yards per game, right? 2021's leader, 106. 2022's leader, 97 with Josh Jacobs, and then last year was Kyron Williams with 95, and McCaffrey was second with 91. Like he has 13 touchdowns. That's 3 more than Saquon Barkley. Like he's having about this is like one of the better 1-2 punch running back seasons in a long time. And then you forget like what Detroit's doing with their guys, their two-headed monster. It's running the ball is back and it's fun.
You don't think that it could maybe keep flipping? Because for the longest time, even 2 weeks ago, we wanted to do the show 2 weeks ago for Dan Patrick, but
it was until 2 weeks ago it would have been Henry every week of the season.
So I think it could flip. I don't think Barkley is just running away with it, so to speak. If he keeps having these second half huge explosive plays and if the Eagles keep kicking ass, he'll keep it. But I think Derrick Henry's just consistency. If any team can pitch Barkley out to a little bit of a quote-unquote shutout of, averaging 4.4 yards per carry in the first half like he's doing so far this year, and then in the second half he averages 5, and then Derrick Henry has some more of these just big old consistent games, I think it could easily flip week in and week out as the season goes on between Henry and Barkley. I'm not ready to say that Barkley's just going to run away with it yet.
I think he's going to run away with it because one, he's played one less game than Derrick Henry, unless injury is the only thing that could. He's played one less game than Henry, and the Eagles scheduled. Now they have the Ravens matchup coming up this week, which is game of the week. Then you have Panthers, Steelers, good run defense, but ability to be ran on. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I think they're going to run the ball a lot in those matchups. And again, 16 yards per game is just a huge difference, right? So, it would be really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
So, all right, Justin, why don't you talk to us about something before we get into the wide receiver?
I will talk to you about something. Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Grab your favorite team's jersey and some snacks. Head to the couch for another Sunday of action-packed football and get even closer to the action each week with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers, if you bet $5, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So, maybe the over on Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry's rushing yards. That probably will win. When you use our code FOOTBALL today, stay in on the action, use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers who use promo code FOOTBALL today, bet $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus
Daniel
bets.
Jones, Vikings.
Right now?
Yeah.
No, you're lying to me.
I'm 100 Tom Pelissero 3 minutes ago.
Let me finish this. Bet $5.
I was planning to lie to you, and then I saw it actually happen.
Bet $5 on any wager, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's promo code FOOTBALL today, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. So that is official. Daniel Jones to the Vikings?
Yeah.
I
was getting ready to lie to you about it, and it happened.
What are your instant thoughts as I write down the timestamp?
The Vikings, I feel like, would have been a good spot for him. But the Vikings are a great spot for any quarterback. And I think they're going to try and re-sign him as the backup for J.J. McCarthy next year. Where I don't know if the Ravens were going to try and spend money to re-sign Daniel Jones. I think he looked at it from a point of view as like, this is where I can be the quarterback next year. J.J. McCarthy coming off of that injury.
Yeah. Maybe even to start. I mean, I think McCarthy should
You kind of
should
have
be
to
ready.
give McCarthy the start week 1 next year. You trade up in the first round for a guy. He's got to be the starter week 2.
Yeah, especially when he sat on the
2.
He sat for an entire year. Sat due to injury, but
I have this theory that a lot of like scouting the league is how well did they play against us. And Daniel Jones played really bad in week 1, but he did have those those good games in 2022 when they made the playoffs.
Right.
They played well. He played well against them in the regular season as well too. But that Vikings offense, I mean, it's a good fit for damn near. If you're not a good fit for the Vikings offense, you're just a flat out horrible. Like the god, you don't belong in the league if you're not a good fit for the Vikings offense. So
yeah, good landing spot. Good landing spot. I thought that maybe he would go to the Ravens, where
he's also signing to the practice squad, so like he could change teams if he really wanted to. So
yeah. All right, good for him. Good for DJ.
Yeah. And the Vikings aren't going to re-sign Sam Darnold.
No, they are not.
All right. All-pro wide receivers, Justin. First team, I've got Jamar Chase, obviously. Leads the NFL in yards with, with 1,000 by over, 100 more than the next guy. Second in catches, first in yards and touchdowns. His 12 touchdowns are 3 more than second place in Amon-Ra. Justin Jefferson, who's second and yards, and then I put Terry McLaurin third. Not third. The first, I'd put 3 first-team all-pro wide receivers.
I also have
Chase,
3.
Jefferson, Terry McLaurin.
I also have 3. Run a little bit of 11 personnel. I have Jamar Chase, same as you. Justin Jefferson, same as you. This guy has missed some time, but I think when it's all said and done, we're going to be talking about him as a possible first-team all-pro.
I put him second team.
A.J. Brown.
Oh, okay. There's another guy I was thinking of that I put second team.
A.J. Brown is currently, now, he doesn't have like a ton of targets compared to the rest of the NFL, but he's top 5 in yards per reception, I believe. He is first in yards per route run among guys with 20% of the qualified targets on PFF. So he's first in yards per route run. I think yards per route run is one of the more better efficiency stats when it comes to wide receivers in terms of how effective you actually are. So A.J. Brown, we talk about Saquon Barkley, and he's gotten the light, he's got the shine, and I think rightfully so. But A.J. Brown has been pretty damn good for these Philadelphia Eagles as well. Number 1 in the NFL in yards per route run. I have him number 3.
So yours is Jamar Chase, Jefferson, and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, Chase, just yards after the catch wise, has been phenomenal this year. I'll be honest, people have always talked about that Chase is really good yards after the catch. I didn't know that he had this much in him this year, just seeing the big plays. And he game-changing plays week in and week out. What should be game-changing winning plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, but their defense just gives it away. And Justin Jefferson, that offense is nowhere near as effective as it can be or as it is without the presence of him. We all know this.
Yeah, I mean, Chase has just been ridiculous. So I put McLaurin as my third. I mean, we've known, me and you have known McLaurin's a beast since like week 3 of 2019 because he's in division with us, and I kind of really liked him in the draft. He's starting to get his flowers more because with Jaden Daniels as QB. And I know the Commanders have had a little bit of a rough patch, but 1,000 yards, 4 straight years with bad QB play. He's 4th in yards this year, 3rd in touchdowns. Like Terry McLaurin hasn't always been a true blue wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
Yeah, he's 10th in yards per route run, so that's a really good call by you. I had like Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of even in front of Terry too.
So let's do our second team so we can talk about it. My second team is Nico Collins. I mean, he's smoking the field in yards per game. But, he's only played the 7 games. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is 8th in yards, but 2nd in touchdowns. Team is a bit run heavy. And then I put CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee's 3rd in yards, but he's force-fed a ton. I mean, he has 15 more targets than Jamar Chase, 29 more targets than Justin Jefferson, who are both ahead of him in yards.
Yeah, I would have Nico Collins, second team as well. I mean, he's 7 games, and he's 11th in receiving in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just think him as a blocker and everything that Detroit does, it's kind of like leaning on him as well. Of course, with that run game, but he is just so talented himself. You could put him in line and he can be effective there for you too. And I have George Pickens. I think George Pickens has kind of really changed and transcended that Steelers offense to becoming somewhat of a force as well. And he's 6th in the NFL in receiving yards as well.
Yeah.
Terry hasn't been consistent. Can I tell you? Terry hasn't been consistent enough for me.
Like on a game-to-game stat basis, or
yeah, this is me being like eye test and feel, and this is just a feeling. This isn't me like looking at his box score, but I'm even speaking as a McLaurin fantasy owner, and there would be the early portion of the season where he kind of like wasn't there for me, you know.
I mean, that was just 2 games basically.
I know.
And here's the other thing: is the Commanders don't have other receiving options, so like he's like very easily double teamed.
Yeah.
You know, and even in like a game where he was doubled a lot was the Giants a handful of weeks. He had 2 catches. Well, guess what? He also had 2 touchdowns in that game. So yeah, he does have some dud games, but so has Pickens.
This is true.
You know.
And McLaurin's 7 touchdowns is pretty damn good too to Pickens's too.
Yeah, he's and again, McLaurin's 4th in yards, 3rd in touchdowns. Like,
yeah,
I can live with that. And then so second team had Nico, Monra, and CeeDee Lamb. All right, tight ends, quick.
Yeah, we
first team, second team. I put George Kittle first team. He's 3rd in yards, but he 102 behind Bowers, but he's played 2 less games, and his 8 touchdowns is 3rd most in the league for wide receivers and tight ends. Like the only other tight end in the top 5 for yards who's touched, like, let me rephrase this. So top 5 tight ends in receiving yards. The second most touchdowns to George Kittle is Jonnu Smith with 4. He's the best blocker of the bunch. So I put Kittle first team for the touchdowns, and the fact Bowers is just, he's all that offense has, so they force feed him, but he's having a great year, and he's like, you know, sometimes tight ends can come on a little slow. Brock Bowers has not done that. So I put Kittle first team, Brock Bowers second team.
Brock Bowers is 17-game pace, is 119 receptions, 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. The most receptions by a rookie tight end is 86, and the most receptions ever by a tight end is 116. This is like we're going to witness the best rookie tight end season ever, and we may just witness, I don't want to say one of the best because, like I said, the Raiders are force-feeding him the ball, but he's on pace to break the receptions record by a tight end, which is absolutely nuts. We don't have a lot of time to debate this. I have Trey McBride as first team, and here's why. Now,
I would love to put Trey McBride in here, but
he has no touchdowns. He has 1 rushing touchdown, and Kittle has him with the touchdowns. I've nicknamed McBride the agenda. You want to know why? Because he helps you stay on schedule. Trey McBride, I think, is leading the NFL amongst tight ends. 68% of his catches are first read. Kyler Murray's first read, the ball's going to him. He helps this Arizona offense just stay on schedule, avoiding third downs. So I have him first team, even though Kittle is first in yards per route run and McBride is second. McBride better in yards per route run than last year. And then I do have Brock Bowers second.
So no Kittle, who's 3rd in yards and 8 touchdowns?
Honorable mention. I'm liking the season that, we've seen it from Kittle. I'm liking the seasons that we're seeing out of McBride and Bowers more.
All right, offensive line, let's do quickly.
Yep.
We just want to talk about offensive line. I hate to do this to you guys, but we got to. Offensive line, first team, left tackle, Tristan Wirfs, left guard, Joe Thuney, center, Creed Humphrey, right guard, Kevin Zeitler, right tackle, Lane Johnson. Second team, I have Taron Armstead at left tackle, Quentin Nelson at left guard, Tyler Linderbaum at center, Quinn Miners at right guard, and right tackle, Penei Sewell.
Man, offensive lines have fun this year. The guys that are good, they're good every year. Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. I have a clean sweep of Kansas City Chiefs in the interior with Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. I have Penei Sewell at right tackle. I think him being a really good run blocker is the difference between him and Lane Johnson, but I have Lane Johnson on my second team. And I don't feel confident enough to really give a full second team because I don't watch these offensive linemen enough.
Well, guess what? You don't have to because we gotta go.
We gotta go.
So we appreciate you guys. We will see you on the next one. Have a happy friggin' Thanksgiving. Until then, this is Football Today.